Welcome to the Design or Die podcast, meant to connect creatives together and help you navigate the struggles and the triumphs of what it means to be an entrepreneur so that you and your business can thrive. I'm your host, Colette. Let's get creative.
Hello, friends. Welcome to my first episode of 2025. And I will tell you why. So, just being in the world of politics, the tariffs for small businesses and other businesses, AI, ChatGPT, just didn't feel like the time for me to come on here and tell people how to run their business, to start a business, or anything like that. It just genuinely didn't feel like the time. Because ultimately, what you decide for your business and what is right for you and your personal life and professional life is really up to you. No one can make that decision for you. And honestly, I have seen every time I go on social media another small business closing. And that's so disheartening, as well as I travel a lot when I'm able to. And I talk to other small businesses in different areas and I see what's going on with them. For example, I was in Vermont recently and the tariffs were really kind of screwing them over because they get all their products from Canada. And, realistically, we just don't have the facilities and the products we need here to do everything US based. And so to drop that on people out of nowhere, I mean, it's affected my own businesses for our grooming business, like trying to get a new van, all those things. It affects so many people, and it's not as simple as, oh, we're just trying to keep it in America because we don't have the access and ability to do that. Now, if we had a plan that gave us ample time to maybe start creating those facilities here and then making a switch, sure. But to just rip everything away from people and destroy their livelihood that they've worked on for so long, small businesses that have been in families for generations, all the people they've employed, it's been a nightmare. And I just, sympathize with everybody that has been experiencing that and figuring out, okay, what do I do next? Because, yeah, if you need to close your business for a while or forever, it sucks, but I understand and I totally want everyone to feel okay to do that if that's the step they need to do. But for myself, I also want to be here just to encourage the ones that are trying to make it work and figure out how do I navigate all these changes and the rise of AI and ChatGPT. How do I, as a creative and designer, still show people that creativity and a human brain cannot be replicated. Because to me, the more we lose our creativity and don't have that in our society, the more power we're giving away. Creativity is formed in so many different ways, not just with your hands, but with your mind and creative thinking and creative solutions. And it's so important to all societies to have that and to keep our power alive in that way even when we're feeling discouraged. My stance has always been like take the steps you need to protect yourself, recoup, take the breaks, take care of your mental and physical health, and then take action. So, first, I just want to restart and kind of tell a little bit about myself, my life currently, for anybody who is new joining in, since it has been a little bit since my last episode. I have started a separate Instagram for Design or Die, which is focused solely on the podcast as well as like creative projects I'm doing around the house or for myself. And just kind of give you guys an idea of like who I am, where did I come from, why am I doing this, and where am I now. So I've been an artist, creative for as long as I could use my hands. And it started with, I always was the kid in school who would doodle and draw. My teachers would not even give me the assignments sometimes because they're like, you're just going to draw anyway. And so I was that kid, the one doodling, eyes in their little notebook and making art for their friends and all that. That was me. I am the type of person I realize over time that I have like ADHD and I cannot focus on things that I'm not interested in. But when I do focus on something that I'm interested in, I go full in. So, what's crazy when it came time to go to college and figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I genuinely didn't think of going into school for like art and design. I just didn't. I thought, I kind of listened to like whatever and tells you back then that like, oh, you're not going to make money in that field and whatever. And I don't come from a family that is able to support me in that way. I had to put myself through school and all of that. So I was like, meh. But then, my parents and my friends encouraged me to go into school for art. Or my mom, she said, I don't care like what avenue you do, but you have to be doing something that uses your creativity because it's so unique. And I ran with that. Now, I also was the kid in MySpace days who would design custom layouts for people, and I had my own business page and that. And I was like 12 years old doing this and doing graphic design, learning HTML on my own. I even had like a typewriting Lion King class when I was in second grade that made me an amazing typer and like really got me to use the computer. I saw a meme recently that was like, ever since I was a kid, I knew I'd always be on the computer, and that is literally the definition of me. So, based on my college track and all of that, I actually got my bachelor's in fine arts, and then I took design classes and photography classes as electives, as well as while I was in college, I worked for a photography studio. I worked for tech support at my college, and I also worked for local print shops in which they taught me design. So I kind of did a mix of like I took some technical classes in school, but then I learned more hands-on experience by actually working jobs and just kind of working my way up. So a lot of it is, I guess, self-taught, but I have the foundations and the basics that got me there, as well as the actual field experience. So after college, I worked at a few different places. I also like sold my artwork during school and started doing like art commissions after school just because I was getting projects for it and it helped pay the bills. But alongside that, my goal was kind of to have my own business. And that first started in college, actually, at the tech support job I had. My manager at the time was a graphic designer outside of that. And when he didn't have extra time, he would pass his design clients to me in the meantime. So I had already been getting, freelance work starting in college. And from there, after working for a few horrible bosses and feeling like I could do the job better, I did that. And I started my own freelance design company. I started with like design and printing. Then I realized, okay, printing for a very small business is like not feasible. So I started outsourcing that printing and just doing the smaller jobs in house, which I still do today. And in 2019, I got engaged. I was planning my wedding on Long Island, New York, and I got so into like all the little details. And I just ended up falling in love with it. And I realized when I was planning my own wedding, it was really hard to find designs and stationery that matched. And so I even like when I was looking for like little things like party favors, place cards, table numbers, invites, all that stuff. I did my own like invitation suite and details, but for all the other stuff, I had to go to a bunch of places and I really didn't love how it looked. But at the time, I didn't know how to create and print all of that. So after I figured it out, having done it myself and things like that, I decided to open a stationary side of my business for weddings and events. And it is still running today, which now has been kind of my primary focus because I truly just enjoy the work more. I love creating in a way that kind of just lets my creativity brain run free. And that's not for every client. Like some clients are very particular in what they want. And I think it's important to be well rounded so that you can do whatever kind of style to match that event or theme. So that's kind of where my focus is. I was doing like brand design websites as well for a long time. But in the last coming months, with AI and all of that, like it's not necessarily that I'm like caving to the AI world and letting them win, because I actually think designers should not do that. But it was more so I found that I wasn't getting the same joy and getting my cup filled in the same way for the brand design. And the reason being is because I kind of found my own niche, and I was trying to add brand design and web design to like help in the slow months and things like that. But over time, my stationery business does not have slow months because now it's okay, we're doing save the dates in the new year because a lot of people get engaged over the holidays. And then it's invitation time and all the details for that. And then day of items, place cards, table numbers, all the things I was talking about, signage, all of that. And then rehearsal dinners. And from there, thank you cards. So, and then by the time I'm done with that, I have a whole new start of save the dates and start the process over again. So, I ended up not having slow months in that business anymore. It is a smaller margin for stationery because print and paper costs so much, especially post COVID. So that's why I felt I had to like do both things. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And my husband and I moved from New York. I originally grew up in New York, lived in Atlanta for high school, college, went back to New York, and then now we're in Connecticut. So if you're unfamiliar with the East Coast, it's just across the water. So we can take a ferry to and from Long Island as needed to see my husband's family and all that good stuff. And so when I moved to Connecticut, I just fell in love with the community here and the small business aspect. It just feels like there's actually so much to do in this tiny state, and people really value small business here. So, actually, moving here made my business, especially my stationery wedding business, better because I was getting more clients that were on par with my personal style. I was getting people that really trusted me a little bit more to like do something creative, where Long Island is very traditional a lot of times with wedding stuff. I have had to move my business quite a few times, and that can be scary, stressful. But showing up in the new place that I'm at was so important to put me back on the map. And now I'm getting all organic leads for the stationery business just from being myself and just showing my work and showing the kind of work that I want to portray and the kind of work I want to have brought to me. So, in between all of that, I'm also married to a Capricorn. We actually have the same birthday. So, we are always thinking of ways to do things, not more things, but to do things in a way that's on our terms. We don't want to be in this rat race forever. We both come from families that didn't really give us any stepping stones, and so we've had to create our own life, and we sit down and we're like, okay, how do we do that? And both individually, we're just people that are super motivated, and that can be almost the hardest part to find, which we are going to do an episode together later on about this in particular, about motivation, success, and how to use that to make money and make businesses, because now we have owned almost four businesses together, or not together, but four total businesses. Some were mine, some were his, some were things he invested in that we turned into a business.
You guys know I love giving you all the free tips for your small business, finding your passion, and navigating this entrepreneurial world. If you find value in this, you can donate monthly as low as 99 cents through my Spotify link to help keep this thing going. Thank you for listening.
So when we moved to Connecticut in 2021, my husband had invested in this business with some of his work friends. He's a lineman by trade, now the director of safety in Connecticut for his company. And we always wanted to have investments in like streamlined income so that we don't have to work until the day that we die, because in America, that is pretty much the system. And as a creative, that system feels really misaligned. So he was telling me about this business, and it was a mobile dog grooming business. And I was like, that is amazing because one, I, well, we had a dog that was so anxious, got kicked out of every groomer. And so once we had like heard about this and we're like, okay, we're investing this in New York, I was like, I want to bring this to Connecticut, specifically our town that has a ton of dogs and is just such a great area and very suburban kind of style. So, the vans could park outside and all that. So, once we did that, it kind of took off and we really didn't expect that. I thought this would be a very like hands-off job where we can just, hire someone to run it, have a groomer or two and one van and boom. That did not happen because we realized, okay, one, you need multiple vans up here because we have a lot of snow days and you have to pay for a garage. There's all these extra like expenses we didn't anticipate having be in the north. So when we realized that, we're like, okay, we really need like two vans to kind of actually make profit and like make this worth it. So we started the plans of it for about a year and then we opened in 2023 in November. By May 2024, we already got our second van. Each van has about two groomers to a van. And then now we just got our third van and it's mid 2025. So we're averaging like a new van per year. And now we have a team of 12 people, which is crazy because when we started, it was just me and my husband. We're like the managers, whatever. We had one groomer who eventually brought a second one. And so the biggest change, and maybe this is why I also couldn't like handle the personality types that I got with design jobs, because the biggest change for me is now like managing people. And that was very different for me. Now, I've always been in jobs that I've worked, whether it was at restaurants, print shops, design, whatever it is. I always ended up being in positions where I would train people and things like that. But I never been in a position where I'm actually the employer and I'm managing multiple people. That was the biggest struggle for me because it's just not something that I'm used to. And you realize quickly like how different people are. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And now I feel like at a place where like we've navigated all those bumps and ups and downs and we really have a good team and like feel really proud of that. So that's just why I share the background information so I can tell you I've been there, I've done it, I've done all various different kinds of jobs, whether creative or not, managing jobs, all of that. So I love being able to just share my experience and help other people because I truly believe that investing in your community and investing in those small businesses, family owned, all of that makes our economy thrive. And not just that, but like makes people happier overall. And having worked for many different people that were really had toxic environments and put their ego in front of like actual people's like feelings and being sensitive to that, when we started like having our own business where we had multiple employees, that was something I really valued, is like treating them like humans and thinking in a way how I would want to be treated in a job. And that's actually gone a long way. I've been watching, I'm like a background story. I'm really into like reality TV because I don't have to invest in it emotionally, because when I work on computers all day, like the last thing I want to do is sit and watch like a very intense like movie or show. So I watch a lot of reality TV. I just have it in the background while I'm working or whatever. And I've actually been watching Below Deck. It's the last reality TV show that I watched. I avoided it for so long because I'm like, don't really care about people on a boat. But what's actually been surprising about it is that like there's so many different dynamics on there, not just like management styles, but also hierarchy and like new people in a setting and seeing how they live together, work together, operate together. There's like so many different moving parts, which makes it not just entertaining, but also like you learn a lot about like being on a boat. They have such a hierarchy and like way of doing things, and you see different management styles come in. And I kind of saw like, ooh, that one's like, don't love that, love that. And I watched ones from like 2012 and how different management styles were. It was always like very toxic productivity, managers yelling at you, not respecting you. And I've experienced that. I first started in the workforce, I think in 2010, 2011. And now I feel like there's a different, or should be a higher expectation of employers and managers to be more inclusive, be kinder, and just like understand we're humans and we're not just like working robots. And that is a big issue, and that's something that's really tough in America, and especially in the political climate right now, is that we actually, compared to other countries, like we work the most. And I don't mean just like physical hours, labor like that. I mean, like on paper, like what's full time, how much we're actually working over that, and how much our life is actually centered around work and our output, and how much work and money we can get as humans is our value, our entire value. And I just want to say that is bullshit to me, especially as creative people. It's like the more we like try and fit into this mold, the less we feel like ourselves. And so, again, that's why I encourage people like to not only run their businesses and do what they love, but even if that's not your 9 to 5 job or Monday through Friday job, whatever it is, make sure you're still carving that time out for yourself to create in whatever way makes you happy. It doesn't even have to be for a purpose, it can literally just be to calm your mind at the end of the night. But those little things are so important to us as humans and our society as well. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and go into talking about AI and ChatGPT. I had my first potential client come into a consultation with me in person with their parent for like wedding stationery and showed me a design that they made on ChatGPT that they wanted to use. And I was like, absolutely not. And, it's no shame to the people who do this because they really, if they're not like a small business or creative, they don't understand like the gravity of it, right? They're just using this tool that's like readily available and becoming popular. And so, like, I don't want to shame anyone that's like starting to use that or curious about it. But as a creative, like when you come in with that to my space where, this is directly putting myself and a lot of people I care about out of business. It's almost disrespectful. But again, they don't know that, and that's okay. So I feel like it's our job to educate. Like, I'm constantly posting things about how AI and ChatGPT affect the environment, how they break copyright laws, and all those things, and why I will not use them in my business. And, for people that are in different businesses, it may be a good tool for them to use to get things quicker, especially if they're not tech savvy or design savvy and things like that. But as creatives, I almost feel like we have a higher calling to not use that because it is directly affecting us so much. And yes, it's true, we can't control like where technology and society is going to go. It's ever changing, but we can be responsible and know the ways in which we're consuming it. So like my best piece of advice if you have clients that are trying to compare your designs to what they built on AI and having some kind of like personal attachment to it, I think it is our job to educate, educate, educate. Not just educating of why you shouldn't use AI, but explaining, especially if you're like a brand designer, what have you, explaining why an AI design is not doing what they think it's doing. Overall, a logo is not just there to like have a sticker for your business. It is literally based on psychology and how people remember and interpret your design so that they can use you the next time they need that. And so I think it's just really important during this time, like if you're feeling a little discouraged about it, just educate as much as possible. Make reels about why your value is so important because no one can replicate your creative mind. And that's what's going to get us through this is that there's still those people that value that and are going to appreciate that. And that's what you need to be focused on. The people who don't and they don't want to give you the time to understand, those aren't your clients, those aren't your people. So focus on the ones that get it and trying to be that, especially in a world that's like so moving away from like authenticity, organic, creative. Try to be that and be not just the voice of reason, but just keep showing up in your authentic way. And promise you, there's enough people to go around. A lot of people will still respect that, want to work with you, and value that. For example, like the wedding stationery has definitely changed in the world of not just people who create their own designs on Canva, but also new designers, quote unquote, coming in and thinking they're a designer because they've used Canva a few times. And, the ones that have studied this and understand like design is more than just like a pretty design. There's actual psychology and science behind all of it. It's like an art composition, I like to kind of call it. There's so many reasons, and it's not our job to like convince everyone, but it is our job to just educate, especially the ones that don't really know. For example, there's always going to be like brides and clients that want to be budget friendly for invitations and, that's not as important to them. But the same could be said about a photographer or wherever. Like wherever they spend their money, they're going to use it in the place they value the most. So, for example, when I was doing my own wedding, my priorities were photography, invitations, and the details because as a creative, like those are the things I want to see and remember and curate. And that's not going to be the same for everyone. And that's okay. Everyone is different. So your goal is to really focus on the ones that do value that. That's your niche. That's your people. Like that's where we should be marketing to and like grasping and like filling that, and try to not get discouraged. Like, it's okay that it's not for everyone. And it is discouraging that all these changes and whatever have made us like get less clients. But with that, what we need to focus on is, are we charging what we should be for the amount of clients we're getting to survive? And just remembering the value that you bring and where you fit in the creative space, in your field, in your job. Just lean into that and you'll attract your clients and you'll attract almost like better leads and better outcomes. Now, what are some ways you can do that? Like I said, create reels that are educational, not judgy. Like, we don't want to shame anyone for not knowing better or for having opinions, or, everyone is entitled to their feelings and opinions. So, we want to educate in a way that doesn't offend people and just literally gives them the information. We are so information based, especially with the rise of like TikTok and YouTube and all these like quick information videos. Like, lean into that as well as post the work that you want to do. Especially if you're starting out, don't just post every project you do to show people that you're doing a bunch of projects. That doesn't really matter. What you need to be showing is your best work and the work that you feel represents your personal style the best. And the more you do that, the more you're going to attract people on that similar wavelength. And it won't be such a battle of like fighting someone who doesn't trust in you as a designer, artist, creative. You're going to find more people that already have seen your work, already love it, already trust your creative freedom. Because that is really the sweet spot and the gold in this business is like people who trust you. And how do you build trust? Telling them what you do, showing them what you do, and then when they actually go to hire you, being you and not trying to, because there's definitely been a lot of times in design, and this is the part I hate about it, but when people try and tell you like, no, I want this because I like this, and it's like, well, it's not just about liking something, especially when it comes to brand design. You want something that's going to be lasting. And to me, it's like, if you've seen my portfolio, if you've seen this, like, give me that trust to nail it because we're not going to get it right away. It takes a lot of time to get what someone is thinking in their mind and put that as a visual space. Sometimes clients get discouraged when they see like a first draft of something and they hate it. I've had so many clients where like they'll just ghost me at that point and go hire someone else. And it's like, it pretty much impossible to get it perfect exactly as you're thinking and something that's going to work and make sense on the first try. So like for me, I like to educate on every process that I have, whether that be reels, videos, proposals. I like to educate that changes are normal. It's going to take a little like working collaboratively to get there. So always just like over explain so that your clients and potential clients have all the information they need and need to know before the problems arise. So, if you're having downtime and you're not getting as many clients lately, my recommendation would just be to like tighten up all of those things. How does your visual presence online look? Does it look cohesive and in your style? Does it look high end and professional? Is it you? Are you shown on your profile and are you shown up as your authentic self? Are you posting regularly? And are you posting to attract the clients that you want? How does your website look? Does your website look as professional as your online presence? Is your website up to date? Are your proposals looking nice and updated? And or even maybe it's time for a recap and learning. If you're unfamiliar with AI or chat GPT, maybe it's important to take that time to learn about it so that you can better educate your clients, as well as spend this downtime, really writing out a visual, a business plan, and figure out, okay, where do you actually want this to go and how can you alter it to still survive in this changing world? For some people, too, that may be like taking a break and coming back, or taking a break doing something else. For myself, I'm actually going back to school because I have decided that I just want to do more and I want to do more in person with people. And so I'm going back and getting my master's degree in education. And I don't know exactly where that'll take me, but I do know that one, I want to keep my stationery business, love that. Two, love the team and the business that I've built for our mobile grooming business. So we're obviously keeping that. That is really our future, but it doesn't fill my creative cup per se. So I've been feeling like a calling to do a little bit more, and perhaps that's teaching. I don't know exactly where, when, or what. But for now, that's been my path to kind of change it up. And I think as creative people, that sometimes that's the case, like sometimes we think we want to do something and we get there and either we don't love it or the world turns on its head and we're like, oh, now it looks different. Maybe I don't like it in this different light. And that's okay too. So I would take this opportunity to just really reevaluate where you want it to go, and just know that I'm in your corner and I'm here to support and give all the free tips and advice that I can. And anytime you guys want any tips, questions, anything like that, I am starting a YouTube channel soon where I can actually have a visual to these podcast episodes, as well as just like show videos on like how to's. And as creatives, we tend to be visual people. So for me, I know that I'd want to see like a visual with it. So I'm going to be adding that soon. I actually have the YouTube already. If you want to go follow it, it's Design or Die, Designer DIY. Same as here. You'll see my little logo with the skull design. You can start following me on there. I haven't posted my first video yet, but I'm excited to do that. Thank you guys for listening. I am taking new applications to do guest spots on here. I really want to highlight local women-owned small businesses. If you're also local to Connecticut, let's touch base. I would love to have you featured. So thank you guys, and I hope you have an amazing day.